Thank you for staying with us. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's led federal government has come under scrutiny for failing to provide transparency in its 2025 fiscal activities as key public records on federal spending have become largely inaccessible. A review by an online report, Sahara Reporters, indicated that critical budget performance and expenditure 5, leaving a gap of at least 5 months unaccounted for. Equally concerning is the state of the Open Treasury Portal, a platform designed to allow real-time tracking of government spending, which currently does not display any 2025 expenditure data from federal ministries, departments and agencies. Experts say the absence of these reports undermines public trust, violates existing fiscal transparency laws. Section 30 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007 mandates the Minister of Finance through the Budget Office to monitor and evaluate the implementation of the annual budget and publish quarterly reports not later than 30 days after the end of each quarter. The law also requires that such reports be made available on the website of the Ministry of Finance and in the mass media. Fiscal responsibility advocates warn that non-compliance with this legal requirement not only weakens budget oversight but also opens a door for unchecked abuse of public funds. The silence of relevant agencies, combined with growing public demand for transparency, has raised serious questions about the Tinubu administration's commitment to open governance. On outer security concerns, a youth group under the banner Bokos Concern Youth has condemned what it calls the targeted attacks, mass killings and sacking of 10 communities by suspected Fulani militias in Bokos local government area of Plateau State. Now, during a press conference held in Jos on Tuesday, the group expressed concerns over the incessant attacks in Bokos communities by the terrorists and the annexation of more than 10 communities which have been completely sacked and occupied by terrorists. BCY Public Relations Officer Chris Daly, who addressed the press conference, decried the fact that for many years, innocent people have been subjected to senseless killings, displacement, kidnappings by the Fulani terrorists. According to Daly, more than 61 communities have suffered violent attacks, leaving several persons killed, children murdered and macheted, also displaced in the council. Well, the BCY spokesman said intelligence reports have shown that the attacks have been premeditated and targeted, with the Fulani terrorists' clear aim to intimidate, displace, annihilate the farming communities, sometimes with the connivance of corrupt military personnel. He also accused the military personnel of aiding and abetting the armed terrorists, stressing that such betrayal of trust and duty was reprehensible and would not go unpunished. In the same vein, Peter Rabiu has condemned the killing of 13 people in a violent attack on a mosque in Malamfashi local government area in Katsina State on Tuesday, blaming President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for failing to address the worsening security situation in Nigeria. No fewer than 13 worshippers were killed, several others wounded in the early hours of Tuesday morning when terrorists surrounded and opened sporadic gunfire on the mosque in Ungwan Mantau in what various reports said was a reprisal attack on the village. In a statement today, Mr. Rabiu described the attack on the village as unacceptable, noting that the incident further demonstrates how little regard society has for human lives under the current All Progressives Congress government. Speaking further, he actually disclosed that the complicity of the ruling party in the problems affecting Nigeria, adding that the issues will persist until they are addressed. He therefore sent his condolences to the immediate families of those killed at the mosque and to the entire worshipping community of Ungwan Mantau in Malamfushi local government area of Katsina State. Now, the Nigerian government has closed down about 13,597,057 social media accounts. The accounts were removed for offensive content, violations of the code of practice by users of social media platforms such as TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. This was disclosed in the Code of Practice 2024 Compliance Report submitted to the government by promoters of interactive computer service platforms such as Google, Microsoft and TikTok, amongst others. The Code of Practice was issued jointly by the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), the National Information Technology Development Agency and the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC). The 2024 report is titled Code of Practice 2024 2024 compliance report highlights social media platforms' efforts on online harm protection. A statement released today by the spokesperson for NITDA, Hadiza Umar, said a total of 58,909,112 offensive contents were taken down from various platforms. The government agency commended Google, Microsoft, TikTok for their continued compliance with the Code of Practice for Interactive Computer Service Platforms, Internet Intermediaries, and also noted that 754,629 registered complaints were received. The NITDA spokesperson added that 420,439 pieces of content were removed and re-uploaded following appeals by users. They also disclosed they remain committed to working with industry players, civil society, regulatory partners to further strengthen user safety measures, enhance digital literacy, and promote trust and transparency in Nigeria's digital ecosystem. Meanwhile, the Nigerian government is considering an upward review of salaries for political office holders following concerns that their current earnings are inadequate and outdated. The chairman of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Mohammed Shehu, disclosed this at a press briefing on Monday. However, this development reopened debate about leadership, public trust, and the true cost of governance in Africa's largest democracy. Well, although the minimum wage in Nigeria is currently pegged at 70,000 naira per month, as approved by the federal government and some state governments, not all states have implemented it, especially for local government workers and primary school teachers. You will recall that in 2022, the National Bureau of Statistics revealed that over 133 million Nigerians live in abject poverty, representing 63% of the nation's population. Reacting to the proposed pay rise, Professor Chidiebere Machuku, a senior lecturer at the University of Nigeria, disclosed that the move is actually displaced, saying Nigerians are crying out against a kind of money that the politicians allocate to themselves in the name of wages and other allowances, and the civil servants who go to the same market as those overfed politicians are ignored. They also disclosed that the president has access to a lot of funds. He's entitled to so many allowances that may even be above his monthly salary, thinking that there is no need for a salary upgrade. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has reportedly placed a former group chief executive officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, on its watch list. The NNPC boss was placed on the watch list over the ongoing probe into the $7.2 billion refinery turnaround maintenance. Recall that the Federal High Court, sitting in Abuja on Tuesday, ordered a temporary freezing of 4 bank accounts linked to him over allegations of fraud. While multiple sources of the EFCC disclosed that investigations into the activities of the NNPCL during the period Kyari held sway reached an advanced stage last month after his close associates were arrested. Kyari's associates have been interrogated on how some funds earmarked for the maintenance of the country's refineries were managed. Documents and other necessary information had since been obtained by the crack detectives investigating how the fund meant for the refineries' turnaround maintenance was actually used. In April, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sacked the NNPCL board chairman, Pius Akinyelure, and the group chief executive officer, Kyari. The GCEO was consequently replaced by Bashir Ojulari as the new CEO, effective from April 2, 2025. Now, the APC's chieftain, Eze Chukwuemeka Eze, has stated that only God and Nigerians will decide the fate of former Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amaechi in the 2027 presidential race and not political rivals. Wike had disclosed that Amaechi's presidential ambition is dead on arrival. Amaechi, who is a member of the African Democratic Congress opposition coalition, is determined to wrestle power from President Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress come 2027. Speaking via Monitor television program on Tuesday evening, Wike, a former Rivers State governor and currently the FCT minister, said that Amaechi's chance in the 2027 election is next to none. Reacting to Wike's comment, Eze, in a statement today, questioned whether Wike had become God or a member of the ADC to determine Amaechi's political future. He further highlighted Amaechi's accomplishments as former governor of Rivers State and transportation minister, describing him as a capable leader with the will to tackle corruption if elected president. The APC stalwart also dismissed recurring allegations by Wike concerning the sale of state-owned gas turbines under Amaechi's administration, saying the matter had long been clarified and duly documented in past state budgets. Meanwhile, in this very recent expose, Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister's public records have revealed that he acquired $2 million mansion in Florida through his wife and children. The property, it is understood, is located on Spring Creek Lane in Winter Springs, Florida, and was purchased in March 2025, registered under the names of Wike's wife, Justice Ebarachi Wike, and their children, Joaquin, Jasmine, and Jordan. The records further indicate that Justice Ebarachi Wike, currently serving as a judge in Nigeria, is also a registered member of the U.S. Democratic Party, an affiliation that appears to conflict with provisions of Nigeria's Judicial Code of Conduct. Sources familiar with the transaction revealed that Wike deliberately kept his own name off the property deed, allegedly to avoid questions over asset disclosure and the source of funds, which was released by West Africa Weekly. The mansion was built in 1997. It's a two-story structure sitting on a 4,076 square foot lot with a garage and 2 parking spaces. It is located at 113 Spring Creek Lane, Winter Springs, Florida. It can be recalled that was previously linked to a $3.6 billion land scandal in the FCT. The minister was found to have splurged Abuja properties on his family members, particularly his 2 sons. Critics have questioned how a cabinet minister whose official annual salary and allowances amount to about 7.8 million naira, roughly $5,000, could afford a multi-million-dollar U.S. property. The development has raised concerns about possible breaches of Nigeria's Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. Attention has also turned to Justice Ebarachi Wike's role in the acquisition. Legal experts know that under the Code of Conduct for judicial officers, judges are required to avoid situations that could compromise or appear to compromise their impartiality. Rule 9.3a of the Code specifically bars judicial officers from belonging to political parties or organizations whose activities are likely to expose them to public controversy. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People 92.3 FM. We will take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment where obviously I'll be joined via the telephone with Barrister Fred Nzako, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator. Barrister Fred Nzako will be giving us some update or rather reaction to some of the questions posed at him on the World News at 6. Still kindly stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I'm being joined via the telephone with Barrister Fred Nzako. Barrister Fred Nzako, good evening and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening to our dear listeners.
Thank you, Barrister Fred. Barrister, let's start off with the this development concerning the public spending records, which has vanished under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government. So apparently, there is a scrutiny about the president's administration, which obviously has failed to provide transparency in its 2025 fiscal activities, as key public records on federal spending have become largely inaccessible. This report was actually put out by Sahara reporters. For example, critical budget performance and expenditure reporting systems historically used to track federal government spending have not been updated for months, which has actually sparked fears of systemic opacity. Okay, now the Budget Office of the Federation has not published any performance report since the second quarter of 2024. Barrister Fred Nzako, why is that so? All of the money is allocated for several spendings. For example, the Renewed Hope Agenda for housing, the Renewed Hope Agenda agenda for eradicating poverty and malnutrition, the renewed hope agenda on subsidy for kidney, that is dialysis, the renewed hope agenda for infrastructure, road infrastructure, the renewed hope agenda for transportation. All of this is meant to be on the website, giving a breakdown of how all this money is recently borrowed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government was utilized and spent, and to what sectors they went into. But for the last quarter of 2024, since then, there has been no update. What exactly is the problem? Do they lack the staff to do that, or they cannot account for the monies, or they are taking their time in giving details of how they can credibly say they spent this monies?
Well, let's take the issues in perspectives.
Okay.
One, it was reported where you said that the records got finished.
Yeah.
Does it mean there was no incidence of fire outbreak at the records room?
No.
Or archives?
No. None.
How could records have vanished? And the second thing is that the records are not seen on the website of the debt management office or the appropriate website of the federal government as required by procurement law, public procurement law. Yes, if that is the case, one can say that, well, in the first instance, I do not think that the documents are not there. The documents are there. Government documents don't get vanished like that. Not that they can keep them away, except when they surreptitiously raise a fire alarm. But in most Nigerians, once they say it's records office, the first thing that will come to the minds of Nigerians is that they don't chop money, burn down the office.
No, but Barrister, when I saw the story, I did check myself. And to be honest with you, there is no update on recent spendings based on the reports we've been hearing on the National Assembly granting loans.
Yes, I'm coming there.
Okay.
Yes, I'm coming there. The next thing is that there are no updates updated on the website.
Okay.
What it simply means is that, of course, the documents will be there physically on ground, but you need somebody to punch in the computers, punch in the keyboard or the computers before they are now uploaded on the website.
Okay.
Which is now the issue, because it's not because of lack of staff to do that, but lack of the will to do so, because they felt that when such things get to the public domain, it could raise a lot of public outcry.
Why, Barrister? What is there to be afraid of?
It will raise public outcry now because the amount of money spent in a country where a kilometer of road costs billions. 1 kilometer, a kilometer is on 1,000 meters. A meter is 3 feet almost. So you can imagine, a meter is about 3 feet. 1,000 meters is just give and take 3,000 feet. And then in Nigeria, when they tell you that they use 5 billion to do 1 kilometer of road, how are they going to upload such a scandal on the website? And that is the whole essence of that. Is when we said it is not for lack of laws that our country is not running well, but for lack of adherence to the laws. The procurement laws require that when you spend, you upload.
Yes.
Because this is the age of digital technology. You upload not just because you want the public to see, but you also want to host the records in the cloud, so that the incidences of the record office has burnt, you can't have access to the records anymore. You no longer get to hear such crap anymore in advanced countries. As a matter of fact, in any serious country, whether advanced or local, because technology is universal.
Yeah.
These are things that you can very easily host in the cloud. Now, they will not host it because of, like I said, even they themselves are ashamed of what they have done. But they cannot stop it because of the greed. And that is why we cannot stop asking, when we talk about holding government accountable, the laws are there to make it possible for government officials to be held accountable. But are they obeying it? And when the leaders of the country are the ones causing the infraction, who will now call them to order? When the fish nothing from the head, one hand happens to the rest of the body of the fish. So it is a very terrible, frustrating development that even all that we have are not obeyed. Even the procurement processes are not respected, simply because some people want to gang up and take the money that belongs to the rest of us. And at the end of the day, sweep the whole thing under the carpet. When they bring a file and they confidential or secret. What is secret about government business?
Exactly.
but not procurement. Not procurement. What is a Minister of Health? What is security a Minister of Agriculture, Mines and Power, Works, and the rest of them? What is secret in their operations? What they are talking about, we're talking about construction of road, building of dam, money spent on the health facilities and the rest, money spent in education. What is secret in those days that virtually everything in government will be shrouded in secrecy? I'm trying to. It's not just secrecy, malicious secrecy.
But Barrister, does it even make sense? Because when they want to present their budgets in all these parastatals, they tell us how much. They come out and tell us how much is needed. So why is it that if they've been given the funds and indeed what they budgeted the money for as they reeled out, either with a certain committee from the National Assembly, that they cannot update it? I'm trying to understand. Or even when they want to collect loans, they write to the National Assembly asking for a specific amount of money or monies that they borrowed from the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund. And it's difficult for you to update on your website what these monies have been used for, because when you were proposing for the funds, you wrote down what you wanted to use the money for. So why not upload it if indeed that is what you intended to use the money for?
Minister, the whole thing boils down to leadership. Look, when we talk about government is not rocket science. The same way you come to a family. Now, a family has they do their budget. If your father sent you to go and buy something for him, or your mother sent you, and you go and buy whatever, when you come back home, are you not going to give account of how you did it?
Obviously, you would.
It's as simple as that. He has told you, giving you some money, go and buy stocks. And then you come back. You say, okay, I bought this amount, I bought this amount. Out of this money you gave me, this is what is left. That is a responsibility. And any parent that does not teach the children this type of lifestyle can be not to be a responsible parent. So, as a government, when government gives you money from the budget and money that is appropriated, after spending the money, you retire it. They call it retire. That's the technical word, retire. And how do you retire it? You come and show proof of how you spend that money. And it will now be uploaded on the site. So that even if the auditors want to come and look at the books, they will just not, they don't need to even browse through heaps of books. They will just go and look at the whole thing, the input on the site. And that is how a serious-minded organization, every company does it. Every government is supposed to do it. Government is not different from company. If a government means the people's company,
all right,
the company might be your own. But when it comes to government, it is the company of the people.
Exactly.
So any government that does not do that is irresponsible. Completely irresponsible, because the government does not want to expose the truth.
All right.
And enhance due governance and accountability.
Now, Barry, so before I let you go, finally, just very quickly, a particular public cleric, all right, his name is Primate Ayodele, has actually warned President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be careful with his interactions with the United States. He says, Tinubu, American government set a trap for you. Watch so that you will not enter that trap. So, for example, very recently with the capture of two ISWAP members, two of them, right? One's name is Mahmoud, I've forgotten the other person's name. The U.S. government recently released, a letter of compliment to the Nigerian government saying that was a very good feat they did. So, in what way is the U.S. government going to set trap for the president? I don't understand what kind of trap. I mean, the president is an independent individual in a country that is supposedly on its own and make its own decisions. If at all, we've heard that he's an ally or an asset. But if you're an asset to this country, how will they set a trap for you to gain what?
I do not know the basis for which the Primate Ayodele made his pronouncement. Whether he said that as a prophecy, maybe he slept and dreamt and then had prophecy, or whether he had rock solid intelligence information from the intelligence community anywhere in the world. I do not know the basis of advice, but I know that there have been some reports, even though unconfirmed, that some of these terrorist organizations are funded by interests outside Nigeria. Such are funded by interest, because the way and manner they brandish equipment and weapons will tell you that there is a very strong backing at the other end, And then, but I don't know who those backers are. And if eventually the primate has such information, I believe and I guess that it should be very straightforward. And then the security and intelligence agencies should interact with him in case he has something that they don't know, because he might have some useful information. When we talk about intelligence does not fall from sky. It comes from human beings.
All right, Barrister.
Who, in one way or the other, have gotten some information. So I guess that they should interact with him. And for all I know, one should not completely take hook, line, and sinker. The saying that the West is for us or the West is against us.
All right, Barrister.
The countries are run these days all over the world is that everybody is trying to protect his own individual country's interests.
All right, Barrister Fred Nzako, thank you so much. We have a program coming up. There are quite a lot of questions I would love to ask you, but maybe I'm going to ask my analysts on the Evening Rush about some of the topics right out on the World News at 6. Rather on the Evening Rush. Thank you so much, Barrister Fred Nzako, for your insight into some of these issues. I sincerely do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, sir. And that's a wrap on the World News at 6 right here in Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Mwachiko. Up next is Born to Live at 7 o'clock. Is the Evening Rush. Do kindly stay with us.